What's up, YouTube? Capital G here. Got an absolutely magnificent duel for you guys to check out. This showcases how powerful the new Danger archetype is. Obviously, TCG exclusive archetype coming out of Cybernetic Horizon. Deck is going to be even more ridiculous in Japan, where they have card destruction, which is just absolutely absurd. But this really showcases how strong this archetype can really be. And I know that when this archetype was first revealed, and a lot of other YouTubers have kind of echoed this sentiment, to me it looked like the foundation of the archetype was just fundamentally strong. If you looked at it, the fact that like all the monsters could get themselves out of the hand when you special summon them of their own ability, you got them on the field without using your normal summon, which meant that the high level monsters would never actually be trapped. In addition to that, you got to draw cards. In addition to that, even if they were discarded, they all basically had these floating abilities. And I'm just gonna say it, I wasn't really sure, but man, that the whole fact that like their special summon ability can be activated as many times as possible and that it's not a hard once per turn, Konami may have done fucked up on that, because I'm gonna show you guys when I roll this that is absolutely, like, you can exploit the hell out of that. And we already knew, like, I think that pretty much any Yu-Gi-Oh player with eyes knew that this deck could be used with Dark World. You knew that Fable was a possibility as well. Fable like to be discarded, but I did not think it was going to be this nuts where you can damn near extra link your opponent turn one. I've said it once, I'll say it again. I think Nightmare as an archetype was a mistake. It is given any deck the ability to pop off super hard, but if you look at this opening hand, it doesn't even look good. Do you like look at this opening hand and tell me that this looks good? You got two copies of Jackalope, a trade-in that's not even live, a Foolish Burial for what exactly? Like, I mean, yeah, the Allure of Darkness looks good, but overall this hand doesn't even really look all that good. But I'm gonna show you guys what exactly you can do and why this archetype is just so damn good. It makes me really think that Konami has done a great job, and I believe that Jerome probably did a much better job with this archetype than others, because you guys know, and I'm not going to spend too long on this, when Revendreads and FAs were first revealed, I said, fuck Revendreads, the archetype looks like garbage, throw it in the trash. And FAs, I wasn't really excited. They never really got there either, even though they got some good cards. This archetype is different. All right, so first off, you're going to go Foolish Burial for Phoenix Rhino Warrior. That's pretty good. It gets your Grapha into the graveyard, activate Allure of Darkness, remove one of your copies of Jackalope. You're then going to activate trade-in, so we're going to get rid of that big copy of Bigfoot in our graveyard, activate the other Jackalope. Opponent's going to Ash Blossom. Bro, that don't even matter. You can keep activating the effects. They're not hard once per turn. You just got baited, sir. He's going to draw a card as well. Now he gets a copy of Dark World Dealings because he did discard the Grapha. See, this is where the nuts aspect of the deck really works, especially when you combine it with the Dark World. The fact that none of the Dark World monsters are hard once per turns, obviously, because Dark World is a GX archetype, even though Snow came out in 5Ds maybe, I forget exactly when Snow came out, probably the structured at the same time as Grapha. But yeah, when you combine those two together, you can just keep activating Snow. And even though Graph is really not all that good in the first turn, if you just keep activating Snow, as you see over and over and over again, you're never really going to lose advantage. You're going to Monster Reborn Snow, get it back in your hand by summoning your Grapha. Now you can activate Dealings again, activate Snow again. Now you can just keep summoning your other ones. I think that's Chupacabra. You get Bigfoot from the graveyard. Okay, now you got multiple 8s on the field. Special summon another Chupacabra. Trade everything in for a Skull Dread. I mean, your opponent has already wasted their Ash Blossom. So now you're just going to fix your hand. You're going to go ahead, activate another Jackalope, get your copy of Bigfoot from the graveyard, start activating your gates to the Dark World. Now you have Tour Guide. This is the normal summon. I mean, this is ridiculous, right? You've already summoned a Skull Dread. You have not committed your normal summon. Just think about that. How many decks can be like, Cap, we're going to summon Skull Dread with 4 cards, and we didn't even use our normal summon, sir? That's pretty damn impressive. But obviously now this is the old school Dark World plays where you can get like Leviair to Sea Dragon. Haven't seen this in a little while, basically since Zexal. But it's still obviously a fundamentally solid play. And once again, we're getting Snow in our hand. I mean, how many times has Snow been activated this time? Like 18 times. So Snow's just going to plus, trade in for Grapha. I said that trade in was probably going to be good in this deck. Play Soul Charge. You can bounce, get Grapha back, go for a Firewall Dragon. It's just crazy. Like, you're using all of these resources for these Link monsters, but it just doesn't matter because you just never run. It's like you never really run out of fodder, because the monsters, the danger monsters, all let you, or they all let you draw cards, so you like never kind of run out of fodder. Now you're going for Nightmare Unicorn. Use Firewall Dragon's ability a couple of times, get Grapha on board. Since Grapha, can be special summoned from the graveyard an infinite amount of times, it's obviously pretty dope. I believe that he's trying to get 2 level 8s on field so that he can end with Titanic Galaxy. And I just want people to understand what this field is. I think that the opening hand really didn't look all that good, and now you're ending with what? We have 5 monsters on board, plus 2 more spells and traps. That's 7 with 3 in hand. That's 10. This is a +5 turn 1 without even having what I would consider a magnificent hand. A +5 turn 1 in Dark World. Well, it's obvious it's danger, but in a Dark World deck, that's pretty damn impressive, even though it is, danger. But that is ridiculous. And keep in mind, the Titanic is live, the Firewall Dragon bounces live. Like, these are live disruption cards as well. So you have 2 forms of disruption, and your field's kind of powered up by your Skull Dread, although your opponent's field could get counter powered up too. Now, he is playing against Blackwing. If there is one deck that is able to counter punch pretty hard, it is Blackwing, especially when you do open up with Whirlwind and you can get the Crystron Needle Fiber. Maybe he could have went for a Black Rose play there, I don't know. But anyways, he's obviously going to fight back a little bit. He's gonna make that full armored master. I was gonna say armor master. Wait, that's the level 7. No, full armor master. Firewall is going to bounce, and he's just gonna go ahead and he's gonna bounce the copy of Needle Fiber. He bounced itself too. First, I was like, why would he bounce? Why would Firewall bounce itself? It'll be clear in a second. So look, you look at his field, and it's like, all right, well, he lost a significant amount of his field cap. Dude had like a whole bunch of monsters. Now he only has 2 plus his gates and I think it's a Lord Darkness. That's a set. Although these 2 monsters are co-linked, which that might be a problem because he's going to get some extra draws here. Okay, so he gets a couple of draws in his draw phase. But yeah, the fact that if you don't stop the momentum of this deck, I mean, Grapha is still one of the best boss monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it can just constantly summon itself. You just summon Firewall Dragon back. Now you have your Nessie online. Summon Grapha back a couple more times. Activate Nightmare Phoenix to get rid of the copy of Whirlwind, which is kind of irrelevant. I don't even think you need to do that. But Grapha, again, go for Zombie Stein just for the style points. Get Grapha back for like the 5 billionth time. And obviously, this is, basically like an OTK. Your opponent is not going to survive this. But this deck is fast. It is aggressive. It's really weird because when you combine it with Dark World, which obviously is another deck from GX where hard once per turns didn't exist, it really feels like you kind of have a full-on GX archetype when you combine these 2. And I know it's a little premature because, this deck only has 6 cards to its name, but I feel like this is generally how Konami eventually gets itself in trouble. When you have archetypes that, like, they're not suited for the era. It's why Spiral eventually became broken, because none of the Spiral cards were really like hard once per turn. Spiral was designed like a GX archetype, and then eventually, oops, we made a Link monster, deck gets exploited, quick fix 500 times in a turn. When you can combine these in their natural synergy with Dark World, and you look at Snow, how many times was that used during the first turn? Grapha being summoned back from the graveyard. Grapha's pop didn't even really matter in this duel. I mean, how many times have you seen Grapha essentially take over a duel, and the pop effect is irrelevant? You're just summoning it 4, 5, 6 times in a turn. Well, not in one turn, but in the span of a couple of turns. Like, this makes me think that this deck can definitely be competitive. Now, if you have something like Macrocosmos or, Dark Law turn 1, then rest in pepperonis. You'll obviously lose turn 1, but this deck seems like it has a whole lot of gas. Let me go ahead and show you guys the deck list, because I'm sure that there are a lot of people who are like, Cap, just show me the deck list. Shut up, stop talking. So this is what the deck looks like on paper, and actually it's not really complicated at all, but when I was just looking at it, I think I understood immediately why this deck was able to be so fast, so aggressive, and completely snowball the duel out of control in basically back-to-back turns, why this deck was able to get to its its crazy combo cards, or really the big playmaking cards in Tour Guide from the Underworld and Soul Charge and Monster Reborn so easily. If you look at Danger and you look at Dark World, I see 2 decks that not only work well with so many ridiculous strong draw cards in the game, but then if you just look at these archetypes inherently, they have their own draw cards built right into the monsters. If you look at Danger, well, every single monster in the entire archetype has a draw 1 effect built into it, and those effects are not hard once per turn, so okay, it's kind of easy to draw a billion cards when all of your monsters let you draw 1. But then if you look at Dark World, well, Brow lets you draw a card, and then Snow is another card that can kind of of get you any card in your deck, and it's not a hard once per turn. In fact, none of these draw or search effects are hard once per turns. And then Snow also gets you two other cards that either let you draw or search. Well, you know, if you look at Gates and Dark World Dealings, these are cards that let you draw. So if you really look at this deck, like, look how many cards in the entire deck actually have some type of draw effect. I mean, probably over half of this deck. Then you throw in kind of the other just supplemental cards like Allure Darkness and Trade In. These work well because everything in this entire deck is dark. So obviously, Allure Darkness is never, ever going to be dead. You look at Trade In, well, Grapha loves being in the graveyard because you can just special summon it with your Dark Worlds. Even a card like Bigfoot, really not that bad in the graveyard considering that Danger do have their own theme Monster Reborn. I mean, if you just look through all of these cards that have draw effects, every single Danger monster, Snow is a search effect, so it's basically like a draw. Brow is a draw effect, Gates draw effect, Dark World Dealings, Allure Darkness, Trade In, draw. Everything in this deck is either a draw effect or basically a big power card. The only ones that I would probably say that aren't in that category would be, I guess, like Beige, you know, Fiendish Rhino Warrior, and Foolish Burial. Every other card is, in my opinion, like either a big power play or some type of like draw card. And when you have a deck that's just that, obviously it's going to get kind of ridiculous. Fiendish Rhino Warrior, I think, is pretty smart at 1 in this deck because it's just kind of it's like a pseudo Foolish. If you don't happen to get your Foolish, you can discard it and you can get, you know, your Grapha into the graveyard, and Grapha you saw on the door was just doing work. So yeah, this is a really good deck and it's very strong, and yeah, I'm starting to really believe in Danger Dark World as a deck.